Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Dom. So I came back again because, it is what it is. But I kind of wanted to briefly discuss what was trending the other day, which was, of course, DMX's funeral and some of the performances and speeches that were made. But in particular, I want to discuss Faith Evans. So I don't know what was going on, but I kept trying to figure out what happened because she was trending, and I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, she can sing down. What are they talking about? So I went and looked at the video. At first, I was like, what are they talking about? And then I started hearing it, and I was like, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, is she grieving? And that's why she's kind of sounding like pitchy and off or something. And I'm just like, okay, what happened? I don't know. But whether or not she is grieving, we all know that, everybody has their own different ways of grieving, but we know the path that Faith Evans has gone down. And if you don't know, for those of y'all who don't know, Faith Evans has done drugs. She's been down that road, and I'm surprised she even still has a singing voice because she did the most. She done been in jail. She done done the most when it came to drugs. And every time you looked up, she kept getting with people who were terrible for her, people who were already drug addicts and all that stuff, who kept relapsing. And it's like, you can't do that. And knowing the past that you've had, you were with a drug dealer. Then you sat up there, you started doing the drugs. We were all amazed when you lost weight. Then when we found out that you had a habit, it's like, okay, did you lose it because you was doing drugs, or did you lose it naturally? Did you get surgery? Like what? Like, and so then now it turns from a positive to a negative all over again because we found out about the drug habit. But for me, I genuinely just want to know if she is okay. Was she grieving? And that was why she seemed off, because I know for me, I can barely speak when I'm overly emotional about something. And if I'm grieving really, really bad, I don't like to speak. And then sometimes when I'm bringing up the person or the people who I've lost, when I'm deep in my emotions, my voice will go away, or you can hear me about to like cry, trying to even speak about them. So in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe it's one of those situations. But I've always felt like Faith Evans was one of those singers who could sit up there and sing through anybody's funeral. I've always been in awe of people who can sing at funerals and not break down. That's why I was like, was it because she's doing, is she doing drugs, or is it because she's grieving? Because usually, whenever I've seen her, because didn't she sing at Biggie's funeral and she sung down? So I'm like, okay. But at the same time, I have to think about it. And I'm like, well, think about the situation. They were together. He kept cheating on her, doing the most. Yeah, they have a child, but at the same time, it's like, but she should be grieving. She probably is grieving because even though they weren't together anymore, they still have a child together. And he's going to have to grow up without his father. So yeah, y'all, I just legit would love to know what is going on with her. Was it because she was grieving, or was it because she, has relapsed, which I'm really hopeful. I really hope that's not what it was. And then speaking of relapsing, y'all, what is going on with Walt? What is going on with Walter, y'all? Like, one of the shows that I didn't finish was the second episode of Blackie and Crew. I haven't gotten spoiled, but I think somebody was talking in the comments section on one of Larry Reed Live's um one of his posts, and Larry said something about Walt, and he was saying that he didn't know if it was staged or not. But he had asked a question or whatever. And, I responded and I said that if it wasn't staged, then Walter, I don't know what's going on with Walter, but he didn't look the way he needed to look because, he did, like Donna said, if you saw the first episode, at least Donna said that he didn't look like himself, which was true. And even when he did finally show up for the meeting, which was after everybody else, he was the only one who didn't gain any weight from quarantine and all that other stuff because, like, wasn't New York like ground zero for this? And, y'all, the people who were in New York, they were constantly trying to figure out what was going to happen. So many people were passing away. Then they didn't know what was going to happen with their living situations. And eventually, they did say that you were going to be able to live rent-free for however long. I don't know how long that lasted, but I ain't gonna lie. I was hoping and wishing that they was going to make that everywhere. Not just, in the United States, just in a select few places. But yeah, I was really hoping they were going to do that here. But yeah, they definitely did not do that where I live. I still had to work. I still had to pay my rent and pay everything else. They didn't care nothing about COVID at all. They didn't care nothing about it. But, I was confused because I was like, y'all talking about y'all think it's Walter. Why? I was like, oh my gosh, don't tell me this was him. Like, please tell me. Because the way they showed it at first, it looked like it could have been Donna. Because I think they wanted to throw us off, and they showed a woman walking by who had on like a blonde wig, or her hair was blonde or something. Or that was just the way the footage looked, because it was just a random person walking on the street, I guess. Or it might have actually been a day when Donna walked by, but they wanted to throw us off. Unless I was just looking at it crazily. I could have swore that the initial video they tried to show us, when they were kind of giving us a preview, it was of a woman. So anyway, when we find out that it's Walter, I'm just like, why? You know what I'm saying? And I think the person in the comment section kind of spoiled me, but not really. Just about that part. And they said that Walter said he had gotten behind on his child support, and that's why he needed the money. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time, why would Walter not consider how Caesar has come through for him in the past and other people? There are people who are basically his sworn enemies who he's come to their defense for, and he has given money to. Why is it that you think that he wasn't going to be able to help you out, or he would say no? Like, my thing is this: unless he's completely different than how he portrays himself to be when the cameras are rolling, I'm not understanding why he did not feel comfortable enough to go to Caesar and say, hey, bro, I need some money. COVID done messed me up, and it messed my gigs up, and it messed up what I had going on at the shop, which anybody who has ever seen me talk about Black Ink Crew, I don't understand the purpose of Tati, Walter, Donna, and Teddy, because they literally do nothing except go and have sex with everybody at the shop and all these other things throughout the years. They don't do nothing. I don't feel like they bring any value to the shop. It just is what it is. But since he want to pay them to do nothing, who am I to judge that? That is a great hustle, especially on Teddy's part. He might actually have just started doing work for the first time in his life because of the different things that had been going on because of COVID and the few shops that they were able to still keep open. Because Caesar does have a few shops, not just in the state of New York. So yeah. But anyway, and I think he's kind of tried to have him as some sort of a manager or whatever. But yeah, anybody who done seen the show, y'all know Teddy don't do nothing except screw everybody and buy shoes with the money that Caesar ultimately pays him. I don't understand. He don't do nothing. But anyway, but as far as Walter's concerned, I don't understand why Walter sat up there and stole from Caesar when they in the past have come to him. They saw him spiraling and asked him what was going on. Why is it that you don't feel comfortable enough to come to him? And my thing is this: I'm really hoping that even in 2021, people are still, I hope people are not still sitting up there letting their pride get the best of them. There are people who have killed themselves because they couldn't keep up with mortgage payments and all this other stuff. And they felt like the only way that they could get out of it was to kill themselves. Like, nobody should have to feel like that in order to be able to live. Like I said, if Caesar was anything like he portrays himself to be on TV, then Walter should have felt comfortable enough to go to him and be like, you know what? I'm a man, you a man, and I don't want to have to do this. But since, the jobs ain't open, my different, streams of income ain't coming in no more. I got a wife, I got kids, and child support ain't gonna wait. So, and I mean, see, that was something that I did think about before the person said that. I was like, well, did they pause the child support payments in certain places that were saying that you didn't have to pay rent because stuff was going on? Like, a lot of stuff was going on, and they were like giving out aid and all this other stuff. So I was like, well, if the people can't go to work, then are they minimizing the payments? Like, what? Like, I didn't know what they were doing in reference to the child support. So I was lost on that, but that did cross my mind. And I was like, well, I'm not sure what they got going on with that, but okay. Because some places they were actually giving people money and they were able to be at the house and be safe and all this other stuff before unemployment and all this other stuff kicked in. And y'all, I really wish I could have been a Canadian citizen because I would have been able to get some good stuff done with the money that they gave out. But anyway, child. But we were up under the rule of trash, so. So anyway, yeah, y'all, I just really want to get a better understanding as to why Walt didn't feel comfortable enough to come to Caesar and just straight up ask him for the money. Just be like, I really need some money. Can you please let me borrow this money? And, I can get on a payment plan once the world opened up a little bit more or whatever. And I give you $100 a week or something, like whatever. Because, because they live in New York. Excuse me. They get more money than a lot of the other places. If you live in California and all these other places like that. But yeah, I'm not understanding why he didn't feel comfortable enough to him. I don't understand why he did not feel comfortable enough to go to him and just ask for some money. And, because everybody else looked like they were all right. Donna sitting up here with Alex going and vacationing, and, everybody else was doing what they was doing. And they weren't working, so I'm like, what is going on with you? So, I don't know. I kind of felt like if worse came to worse, he should have been able to do like Ralph Angel did and found jobs that were available for people who were, despite COVID going on, you still can work it. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do in times like this. Especially if for whatever reason you didn't feel comfortable enough going to Caesar to ask him for the money. Because, yeah, that's your boss. He was probably getting the most money from that. I don't know. But, like, he had nothing coming in. So I'm like, I get it. But at the same time, come on now. You can't just go up and work and steal. And then it's like, you knew it was cameras. Like, that's what killed me. You knew it was cameras. He knew it. And he still went up in there and stole. It's like, come on now. You can't be that dumb. You really cannot be that dumb. And then you ain't say nothing? Come on now. Like, that's what made it even worse. And then you coming up in there like, hey, y'all, what's going on? Bruh. And that's why I kind of wanted to laugh when Teddy was like, when they got the footage back and they saw it really was him, even though they speculated it might have been him. Because things weren't that clear at first. He was like, what we gonna do? We gonna beat him down? Like, am I gonna hold him and you gonna punch him? Like, they really was like, what are we gonna do? We gonna talk to him? Like, what we gonna do? I was like, oh my gosh. But $5,000 is a lot of money. And I just feel like he should have been able to feel comfortable enough to come to his boss and say, I can't make it. Please help me. Anyway, y'all, Let's talk about this down in the comment section. What y'all think about this? Because I thought this was crazy.